Partners in Ministry, a presentation of Josiah White's Quakerdale Foundation, dedicated to growing ministry support networks, introducing people to a cause that connects with their heart, bringing hope and encouragement to our communities as we seek together to serve as Christ served.
Welcome to Partners in Ministry. My name's Dan Smith, and today I'll be talking with Ryan Keller. Ryan is the Executive Director of the Hope4Healing Resource Assistance Network. In this interview, we're going to discuss ways that Hope4Healing can help grow your church. Well, welcome, Ryan, and thanks for joining me today.
It's great to be here.
Now, in previous interviews, we've talked a lot about how the local church can be a part of and can gain from being a member with the Hope4Healing Resource Assistance Network. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different. Let's switch our focus and let's explore ways that Hope4Healing can actually become a part or can assist with the local church ministry. So why don't you briefly just give us kind of that 10,000 foot elevation? What are some of the ways that Hope4Healing can do this? And then let's look in detail at each one.
Well, there's some pretty unique opportunities that we have come across as we seek to, serve the church as it serves others. Just on the basic level, which we've talked about before, is we provide the opportunity for the church to minister to its own body. There are needs and things that come up. So by us being able to identify resources for solutions to those needs, that can be a way that the church more effectively ministers to its own. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, we look at ways we can partner with the church for church growth, both numerically and spiritually. We've done things like Vacation Bible School, where we bring in the team and the church. Of course, we want them involved in everything, but for some churches that are worried about, quite honestly, shrinking numbers, potentially closing doors, they see that outreach to children and youth as an opportunity. But we also do things like parent cafes, which help parents become stronger, Pulpit Supply. We can even do what we call leadership cafes, where we help the leadership of the church to identify ways for growth.
Sure. Okay. Now, we kind of all may probably know what Vacation Bible School is, but give me an example of how a church would benefit from having Hope4Healing assist with their Vacation Bible School program. How would that look?
Sure. So one of the churches that we've helped the last 2 summers with Vacation Bible School is a church that has congregants, members that are older. And so they have a lot of skills that they can bring to be able to help with Vacation Bible School, but maybe not the ability to just put it on. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, we've used things like Answers in Genesis curriculum, where we talk about the last one was dealing with medieval knights and the good kingdom versus the bad kingdom. And we even actually had an actual knight come in and we helped him put on his armor. And we were able to use that as a good way to talk about putting on the armor of Christ. And so it's a way to really partner, but then we also help with marketing. We work on getting the word out. And so the church provides the facility. In this case, the church provided a great meal for the kids. But then the flip side of it was we were able to bring in volunteers that could help with games and could help with teaching the lesson and crafts and things along those lines.
Okay. So it sounds to me like really what's happening is that you're saying, okay, what we'll do is we'll help with leadership, organizational, some of the behind the scenes stuff for you, because you may not have somebody that can do that. But when it comes to the relational connects between the kids and the church, that's all happening with church people, members of the congregation. Is that right?
Absolutely. We want that church to be able to grow. And so it's not about how close they connected to Hope4Healing as much as it is how closely are these kids and hopefully their families connected to the church.
Sure. So as a result, let's say I'm new to the area and I bring some of my kids to Vacation Bible School this summer where you're helping out. You're actually introducing the church to me as somebody new to the community, because the people that are working with the kids are going to be there when you go back the next time, not Hope4Healing.
Exactly. So
now, another great question that I have not heard about before is called parent cafes. What's a parent cafe and how can this help with church growth?
Parent cafes are right is a peer-to-peer model for helping parents to do things that Hope for Healing does really well, in my opinion. So one is build connections. We're finding in this day and age, and it hasn't gotten any better since the pandemic back in 2020, that parents feel very disconnected. They don't have a lot of supports, or at least the ones that we're working with. But the uniqueness about a parent cafe is it doesn't matter if you're struggling or not, because in a peer-to-peer model, we each bring our own experiences that we can share and learn, and learn from. So in that regard, we pick a topic like the one that we have coming up really has to do with connectedness. You know, sometimes we have young kids, we feel like all we do is spend time with them and we have no connections outside of the home. And we don't know if we're parenting right. We don't know if we're doing things right. And then there's four factors that we look at in terms, or sorry, I said four, I meant five factors that we look at that help with that type of growth. And basically, it's looking at things like resilience, connectedness to different types of resources, both formal and informal. And so we work through it. It happens with about 30 people, 6 people at a table, 5 tables. Each table has its own conversation and then shares highlights of that conversation with the rest of the group throughout the parent cafe. And we do tend to serve a meal before the cafe starts. So for parents, it's kind of nice to not have to fix a meal at that time.
So how often and how long do these meet? I mean, is this like a once a week thing, a once a month? And then what's the length of the time together?
It can really be adapted to what the church needs and what the needs are of the community. We typically do one a month, and we like to set up a series of 3 or 4. And then if those go well, we would add on another one each month as we go. And the other part of that is it takes behind the scenes about 6 to 8 weeks to plan an effective cafe, because we bring in church members that are interested, and past participants, bring in a group of people to really identify where's the heartbeat of the community and what is it that we can help to serve in terms of an issue that needs to be discussed.
Sure.
But if we had the right team and the right planning, we could certainly do them more frequently or less frequently. So currently we're connecting with a pregnancy center that is doing one here next month with us, and then they want to do another one in the spring. And depending on how these go, then we may start doing them monthly.
Okay. So it's both, sounds like it's both an educational as well as a relational opportunity for parents to connect with one another, to connect with some resources that are in the area, as well as maybe gain some insights on ways that they might be able to better parent going forward.
Correct.
Super.
It also allows the church to use their facilities. And a lot of people don't want to come into a church building necessarily because they have some maybe biases or maybe they're embarrassed. But coming into a parenting class, for instance, seems a lot less intrusive. So it's an opportunity for the church, both the building of the church and the people of the church, to be able to share who and what they are.
Okay. So this could be held, at a public setting like a community hall or something, or it could be held at the church, could be held at the school. It's just really totally up to the community and to the people that are behind the thing.
Exactly. And I find that for a lot of churches, it helps then to reinforce in the community the importance of that church, that local body, because they are looking at how they can help the community, not just this idea that it's your side of things versus our side of things. And so it brings people together in a very meaningful way.
Sure. I know one of the things that we're experiencing here in Appleton, which is, a town that's less than 1,000 people that are in it, and we're about a half hour from Cedar Falls. We're starting to get a lot of young couples moving out here because of housing costs. And so I could see how parent cafes on a monthly basis would be a really great way for the local church as well as other community leaders to connect with these young parents in a unofficial type of capacity, and just be seeing each other as fellow members of the community.
Absolutely. And, depending on the the value that the church sees, or that different members, the way they want to get involved, we can train them as what we call table hosts,
Hmm.
so that actual members of the church could be a host at a table and be able to kind of personalize the church, those people that are sitting at the table.
Sure.
So again, it is a way to minister to maybe parents already in your congregation if they're needing extra resources, but it's also a way to reach people in the community that are looking for help and are currently part of the church.
Sure. Yeah, I imagine it could even be co-sponsored by multiple churches in the community as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Another thing that you talked a little bit about is Pulpit Supply. Now, I know it doesn't matter whether you're in a major city or whether you're in a small town church. Pulpit Supply can be a real challenge from time to time. How can Hope4Healing help with this?
Well, that's a little bit more of a personal thing for me because out of our staff, I'm the one that typically provides pulpit supply. But I have a significant number of Hope4Healing churches that, as they have a need for supply, that reach out to me, and then we come out, and we can really do it in one of two ways. One is just mere pulpit supply, but most of the churches, I think all of them here recently, have asked us to treat it more like a missionary update type thing.
Mm.
So we give them an update of what Hope4Healing is doing, how things are going, and then speak, from the word in terms of why the mission of Hope4Healing is important. Now, I want to be careful there. I'm not preaching about Hope4Healing, but a lot of times we look at things. Most recently, we've been looking at Romans 12 and how a healthy church body are those that have identified their different skills and are using them in ways to help the
Mm.
church, which Hope4Healing is all about, building that type of growth or strength within a church. So we're certainly biblically based. We're not looking at adding anything or subtracting anything from that, but it is usually a missional message when we're doing it as a missionary update.
Sure. Sure. Well, before we go, we got time to discuss one last thing. Let's take a look at what you call leadership cafes. What are these, and how can this help with the church and church growth?
So again, since the pandemic, we've had a lot of churches, and many of whom have asked for pulpit supply help, that are dwindling in numbers, and that could be for a lot of different reasons. But we've had some come to us and say we're very concerned that financially we may not be able to keep the doors of the church open. Um, Now, I don't think a leadership cafe is just for that scenario, but certainly it's important for that scenario. But a leadership cafe is where we bring the leadership of the church together and we talk about um, using the cafe format. So we talk about parent cafes. Um, and this leadership cafe, they're both based upon what is called the World Cafe format. And so it is really about brainstorming, getting a lot of different ideas together, and then from those things, developing a plan forward. Usually we'll have a plan A and a plan B to start with. And so we can accept the fact that maybe plan A doesn't work for some reason. And so we bring in plan B. But the cafe format um, is a rotational thing. So we spend about 20-30 minutes, one table group talking, and then people from that group move to another table, and people from another table come to that table. And it's a way for hopefully each voice to be heard and to have equal um, power in the room, so to speak. And that way we're able to get a lot of things out there on the table because we're hosting it. It is a little bit less intrusive. People feel like they can talk maybe a little bit easier than it would be if maybe the pastor or some other leader in the church is just sitting there, what do you think is wrong type thing. So it opens the ability to build both unity within the church to edify each other, build each other up, but then to identify strengths and growth areas. And then from those growth areas, how can we address them and move forward? It also allows for churches to look at maybe what is needed in the community. So it's possible in a leadership cafe to bring in community members that either are or are not part of the church, and to get a better pulse of what the needs are of the community. And then the church can better determine ministry opportunities to speak directly to the needs that are going on within the community.
Yeah. If you're out there and you're not sure what this World Cafe or Leadership Cafe is about, I would really encourage you to take a look at it. We've actually used it as a platform now for a Bible study method that we use. And not only is it good in person, but you can also do it on Zoom. So, I mean, it just really is a great tool. And I really would encourage people to check that out. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for being with me today. It looks like Hope4Healing really does have great options to help assist the church in its ministry. So thanks for being here.
Glad to do it. I would add, Dan, that given our connection with other churches and with other believers, there's also the reality that we don't have all the solutions in our bag right now, but we certainly have people we can turn to that can help us identify new opportunities. So I would encourage a church, if they are looking at opportunities for growth, to not be discouraged if one of these things doesn't fit their idea of what is needed. Bring the problem to us, and then we can brainstorm that together and figure out if there are resources out there that we haven't explored yet, be able to share with them and to help them grow.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Hey, if you're out there and you've got some questions or like to learn more about Hope4Healing, you can see their contact information here on the screen. You can also find it in the show notes for this episode on our website or in the description of this YouTube video. On behalf of Hope4Healing, Ryan Keller, and Partners in Ministry, I want to thank you for joining us today. And until next time, let's get out there and serve as Christ serves.
This has been a presentation of Partners in Ministry, a podcast of Josiah White's Quakerdale Foundation. To learn more and see the show notes for this and other episodes, visit our website. To stay informed of up and coming broadcasts, subscribe to our e-newsletter. To invest in our mission, donate today.